Good morning and welcome back, all my hoodies, to another show with your girl Tanya at the Hood Table. Please come on in, like and share the video, and subscribe to the channel if you are new here. Please and thank you very much. Now, today, you guys, we are going to be going over a story and updating a story that we first reported on almost a year ago to this day. And it is, in fact, about a young boy by the name of Tyre Sampson. He was 14 years old, and he died in an amusement park fall from a ride in Orlando, Florida on March 24th of last year. So again, we reported on this first almost a year ago to this day. Now, let me pull up this video real quick. Now, this video, you guys, is just going to be a short clip of when I first reported on this story last year, just to give you a little background on the story for those of you guys who might not be familiar with the story. But yeah, let me stop real quick and just give my condolences. That family, she just brought that back to my memory. My bestie, because she lives in Florida, and as some of y'all have already heard, there was a teenage boy, 14 years old, from St. Louis, Missouri. He died Thursday night, a few days ago, after he fell from this free fall drop tower ride at Icon Park in Orlando. And his name is Tyre Sampson. He is 14 years old. And when I say my heart truly goes out to that man, when I say my heart truly goes out to that family, I cannot imagine um going through what they're going through. And I actually saw the video. Like, the video is circulating around. Um the ride goes up to like 430 feet, but the boy, when he fell out the ride, it had came down like halfway. You know how on rides they go up, then they come down, stop, go up, come down, stop, come down. You know that ride, that type of ride. The ones I would never. And my bestie was just telling me, she said, "Girl, I've been on that ride, but I've been on the one in a different city down there in Florida, not the one in Orlando where the boy died." But it's so sad, and I'm just, my heart goes out to the family who lost that teenage boy, 14 years old. And I was seeing some really negative, harsh posts, people saying, "Well, that boy, he should have known he was too big. His family, the people who he was lit with, should have known he was too big to get on that ride." And I'm like, really? That's what y'all gotta say? So, as you heard there, again, this story first was reported on last year about Tyre Sampson, and at that time, it was a lot of negative um, people out there, or people saying a lot of negative things, because the boy, he was overweight, he was basically too big to get on the ride, but the people at the ride, they let him on anyway, and they somehow got the seat belt, or the um whatever you call that thing, the bar, to go over him, but it didn't fasten the way it was supposed to fasten. And of course they got in trouble for that. I mean, and of course he passed away from that, because when he came down halfway, the seat just, it literally threw him out. And again, the video was circulating around last year. I did not post the video because it is very devastating. It is so heartbreaking to see him fall, to literally see him fall from that far up onto the concrete right in front of a lot of people. So I didn't show that video then, and I'm not showing the video now, even though I have the video. But that happened. And of course, the family, they sought, financial compensation because of that. They wanted the park to be held responsible. They wanted whoever let him on that ride to be held responsible. They even sued the people who made the ride. And I don't know um, who exactly they got the money from. That, because they did get some damages. They did get paid for, damages from, the ride from, pain and suffering, I mean, for their child. They got paid. They got paid. Now, as far as how much they got paid, they're not saying right now how much they got paid. They're not saying right now. But after he had fell to his death, Tyree's father filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the amusement park, the Slingshot Group, which owns the ride manufacturer Fun Time Thrill Rides, and Gaslauer Amusement Rides, which manufactured the seats and the harnesses. And they had a press conference on Wednesday the other day, and Dot, accompanied by her attorney, shared that an undisclosed settlement had been reached between the park and the Slingshot Group. And speaking to the decision to demolish the ride, Icon Park, where the incident happened in Orlando, they said that even though the ride is not owned by them and is not controlled or operated by the park, because it is a tenant on the property, they agree with the owner's decision to dismantle the ride, and our hearts are with the family as they witness this important milestone. So that's basically what happened recently. The family of Tyre, they had went back to the park where it all first happened, where their son had passed away, to witness the ride coming down. So what I'm going to show you right now is a video clip of the news conference and the news report of the ride being taken down. And again, our hearts go out that what happened to this child. I'm going to speak a little bit more about it after I show you this video clip, and especially because there are still a lot of people making some pretty harsh comments and disrespectful comments about this child's death.
The mother of the 14-year-old boy who fell to his death from the Orlando free fall thrill ride last year visited the site where her son was killed nearly a year after the tragedy. Her visit comes as crews are working to dismantle the ride. This is the first time that Tyre Sampson's mother visited the site. She spoke about a new bill named after her son to make sure amusement rides are safer in Florida.
I do appreciate the state of Florida, the Department of Agriculture, all of those people for agreeing and allowing this ride to come down, because it's a tragic, it's a horrendous ride. Should have never have been built, if you ask me.
Tyre Sampson was visiting from Missouri when he slipped from his seat on the 400-foot-tall thrill ride at Icon Park. His parents have filed a wrongful death lawsuit against several entities involved.
Okay, there you guys have saw the updated news conference, the news story on basically the ride being torn down or taken down. Now, one thing that the man did say, or should I say, one thing his mother did say, and I'm gonna say this in the most respectful way. What she said was the ride basically should have never been built. It was never safe, and it needs to come down. Now, again, for most of us who has been following this story or can remember this story, we do know that he was overweight for his size. He was a pretty big kid, and he shouldn't have never got on that ride in the first place. But he wanted to get on there with his friends. He's a child. He's still 14. So 14-year-old doesn't always use the best decisions. And seeing his friend go on that ride, and he literally wanted to join them. And when he got on the ride, I'm sure, assumed that the people who ran the ride would make sure that they all was on there safely in the harness and the seatbelt, so they won't have any accidents. And of course, we saw the results of that. So whether the ride was just made faulty or was not made properly or run properly, I can't, I don't know what to say about that, but I do know that from, the investigation and looking even at the the pictures, looking at the video, of him falling and everything, it literally just appears that he was too big for the ride. And so, his harness didn't fit properly around him and it didn't lock correctly. That's literally what happened. Now, again, there are people who were making horrible comments last year, being disrespectful to the family, even though we know because of his weight, he shouldn't have been in that ride. My heart, I can't speak disrespectfully about that family or about the boy. I can't say anything negative about the family or about the boy. Again, it's a 14-year-old child. It's not a grown person who probably really should have known better. Like, every time I got on a ride when I was younger, I don't do rides anymore. But when I used to get on rides when I was younger, I made sure I pulled and yanked and snatched and tugged, on those harnesses and seatbelts to make sure I was safe. And even when I would take my kids to like Worlds of Fun or, Adventureland or local amusement parks, I was still, after putting them on there, even if the attendant at the ride made sure they harness and seatbelt was on, my kids can tell you, I still would yank and pull and, make sure. They be like, Mom, it's good. Mom, it's good. I'm like, I'm just making sure. Because as I told y'all before in the past, there was an incident where my oldest child, he was real young at the time. He was probably about, I don't know, 10 or something like that. And he went to a amusement park with his father, whose job was throwing something there for like a family day or something. And my son came home and told me, he was like, Mom, I was on this ride and my harness came up and I was holding on for dear life. I was so scared I was going to fall out and die. And he said, couldn't nobody hear me because it was so loud. And he said, I was yelling. And I'm like, man, when I tell you I flipped the entire script, I called his father. I cussed him out. I mean, I was so angry. And this was years ago. My son's 26 now, so he was about 10 around that time. But this was years ago, and I was devastated. I just could imagine getting that phone call from somebody at that park or from his father saying my son had fell to his death from a ride that he was supposed to be strapped in. So yeah, that's what I basically have to say regarding this. If your child is a big kid and he's going to the park or she's going to the park by herself with her friends or whatnot, please make sure you teach them to know. Just like they say, clothes, everything is in our size is not meant for us to wear. And just like with, rides, things like that, just because you can sit up in there does not mean that you should be up in there. And we cannot just leave it to the attendants. We cannot just leave it to the attendants. Our safety. So that's all I have to say about that. But back to the family. Again, my heart goes out. It's almost a year later. My heart goes out, and I still pray. I pray for their comfort and peace, regarding the death of their son. And I know money can never bring anybody back, but I hope they got the settlement that they deserved. You might not always get the settlement that you want when it comes to cases like this, criminal or wrongful deaths, but I hope they got what they deserve. And I hope this is a lesson to all, even the people out there making those negative comments, because I did just see another negative comment. They were talking about the lawsuit. And what did they say? Let me go over to it. Hold on. Let me go over and read this, because I was like, seriously? Are y'all still at it? A year later, I mean, everybody else was saying that's so sad. Somebody said, you should see this. You should see the video. Honestly, that kid was too big to be on that ride. Second, it was negligence by the operators, not making sure he was fully secured. And that is my opinion as well. And another person said, kid was too big, period. They should have never let him on, which is true. But it was a lot of comments that I read pertaining to this news story that were very positive and heartfelt. But there was one person who said settlement was a free gym membership. And everybody basically put angry hearts or angry smiley faces, emojis on that comment, including me. Including me. But on that note, again, my heart goes out to the family. I'm glad that, they have something a little bit more closure with the park, they taking the ride down. They came to a agreement for a settlement. And again, hopefully this brings them a little bit more closure as far as dealing with the loss of their son. Everybody, please make sure you like and share the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed, please. And thank you very much. Always stay safe, be blessed, remain vigilant at all times, and never, never, never forget to always keep it hood. Bye.